Influencing popular culture, politics, and everything in between. The local station takes you ringside as we discuss the crazy world that is professional wrestling. This is Going Ringside with the local station.
Hello there. Thank you for joining us on Going Ringside, an episode I'm excited about because a man who's back in the headlines is here. We're talking about Tatanka. Joins us on the show today, the 90s great whose legacy may be living on soon in WWE. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then a little later on in the show, every episode we're talking about River City Wrestling Con because we are a proud media partner. It is coming up June 7th and 8th. Ric Flair, Bret Hart, and all the rest will be there. We'll talk about that from a fan's perspective a little later in the show. If you plan on going, if you're in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, anywhere, watch this, what you need to know if you plan on going to the huge event. But first, let's talk about that man right there, Tatanka. So if you didn't know, Tatanka's been back in the headlines recently. Just the other day, he was on Saturday night's main event, back on WWE television, and there is talk Tatanka's kids might be interested in following in his dad's footsteps. So watch for that. The next big legacy players might come from his bloodline. And his bloodline is important. Why do I say that? Tatanka was one of the very few legitimate Native American wrestlers ever. There haven't been any. I think Wahoo McDaniel comes to mind. Not many beyond that. Wahoo McDaniel was, and Vince McMahon saw that when he brought Tatanka in to the WWF in the early 1990s. And you saw Tatanka get a great, major, undefeated push to titles, to championship, to stardom. Tatanka was going to be a big player in WWF, which he was throughout the mid-90s. So I was so excited to sit down or stand up and stand there and talk to Tatanka about his career. He has some interesting stories of things that went on behind the scenes in WWF back in the day. And of course, his kids, we got to watch if they become the next legends in WWE. But he is a legend in his own right. Here is Tatanka. Well, we're joined here by the legend himself from the new generation era, Tatanka. Tatanka, thank you for joining us on the show today.
It's absolutely awesome. I want to say hello to everyone out there. It's awesome here to be at the River City Wrestling Con.
So what has been going on in your life right now? What's going on with you?
Well, I'm still on contract with WWE. I'm on a Legends deal. Got a new action figure out. I wish we could open that box over there. Maybe we can show it on the camera really quick, but things are just great. And we're out here doing appearances. Matter of fact, I'm away from wrestling at WWE where we would wrestle 300 days a year, but sometimes I'm wondering about, I'm supposed to be retired, but we're actually on the road 250 days a year doing appearances.
You don't feel retired then?
No, I don't feel retired at all.
So you come in was like 93, 94? When was it?
I actually signed with World Wrestling Federation in 1990, made my first appearances in 91,
okay.
And it started on an undefeated streak for 2 years. Undefeated.
Yeah, so did you know that was going to be undefeated all that time?
No.
Or it just kind of went that way?
It just went that way. A real quick story. When I first came in, since I'm really Native American, the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, Vince said, listen, man, we need for you to come up with a name. He actually gave me the opportunity to choose my own name, Tatanka. So I came back to TV and said, hey, I found a name. He said, what's the name? I said, it's Tatanka. He says, what does it mean? I said, it means buffalo. He says, great, you're going to run over your opponents.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened.
I think, is this the toy we're talking about?
Yeah, this is the
toys
new
available,
one.
people can get it?
Well, this just came out. This is a new WWE Superstar Series 10 action figure. This is retro. It's really, really cool. WWE's doing some, and Mattel, they're doing some awesome stuff.
Gotcha.
So this is brand new.
Okay.
We just unveiled this at WrestleMania this year.
So you're there and you're pushed to the top pretty quickly.
Yes.
Was that kind of like breakneck speed for you when all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is going real fast?
Yeah. One of my best friends at the time who I traveled with, everyone knows his name, Undertaker.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. It just came in. I'm doing a photo shoot for a poster Taker's over here going, oh, look at this young kid. He's already getting posters and T-shirts and phone tomahawks. But
Taker was a little jealous?
He was just joking. We were close friends.
Yeah.
But I just came in at the right time. They were looking for that right character. I was a Native American character, truly Native American in the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. But during that time, everyone had to be characters. And they were looking for a colorful character. So I hit it at the right time, having an athletic background. You know, Vince just took it, and we just, boom.
I want to back up. There had been some, but not a lot of Native American, really strong characters over the years.
No. You have Chief Wahoo McDaniels.
Yep.
Before that, you also had Chief Jay Strongbow, but Jay Strongbow was not Native. He was actually Italian. So you had Wahoo and myself.
It was, Roy and yourself. And they really made a big deal of it. There were a lot of segments on the whole, getting the name of Tatanka. That was kind of a big push for WWF.
It was a big thing. One thing that was really cool with Vince is when we first came in, since he knew that I was truly a member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, he said, listen, we want to make sure we don't insult your heritage at all. So he would always check with me, and he always made it not to be a cartoon Native American, but a proud Native American warrior in the ring.
You're there when Lex is there. Lex and you were kind of equally being pushed around the same time. What was that dynamic like?
Absolutely awesome. And come on, it's unfortunate what happened with Lex, but you talking about someone that was in premier shape his whole career. Lex Luger was made in America. I mean, he looked phenomenal. Just to be there. Also, he wrestled at WCW. He wrestled against Ric Flair. Woo! I mean, he just had an awesome career. So to have him at WWE and us, both of us being baby faces, fan favorites, great. But if you know anything else, SummerSlam 1994, that's when Tatanka fooled the world, and we turned on Lex Luger. But actually, Lex Luger sold out.
Yeah, he sold out.
He sold out.
So you go heel with, I think, Ted DiBiase, was it at that point?
Oh, yeah, the $1 Million Man.
Talk to me about going into the $1 Million Corporation.
Just absolutely awesome. What's so great about our era then, World Wrestling Federation, larger than life characters, but great storytellers and great storylines. So we actually had a whole year to tell that story of Lex turning, Lex being the one who sold out. And what was so great is everyone bid it, hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. They really believed it. So when I turned at SummerSlam 1994, and when I finally hugged the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase in the ring, you actually heard the whole building start booing and throwing stuff. That means we did our job right.
Were you part of the main event with LT Lawrence Taylor?
Yes.
Okay, so
that WrestleMania, I forget which one it is.
Where Bam Bam Bigelow and Lawrence Taylor.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Talk to me about that dynamic, what that was like when they brought in all these NFL, like big stars like Reggie White and stuff. Oh, yeah. And you guys are facing off with them as the opposing force. What was that like?
Well, I've got a real good story with that one. Chris Spillman, Detroit Lion, if you're out there, I still owe you one. We've talked about this, but, they play football, man. I play football, and the wrestlers are very, very tough, but when we're out in the ring, of course, Bam Bam was facing LT, but Chris Spillman was supposed to do something with me, and he was hiding behind some of his guys, and, man, he hit me off the ringside so hard. I turned to flip, landed up against the railing. He thought he actually had really destroyed me, and it hurt big time. Yeah. So after the match, he was hiding from me in the locker room because he knew he really did something, really laid the wood to me. So I'll never forget that. But we were friends afterwards. But it was pretty cool to work with the NFL. That's one great thing about Vince. He's always done that cross-promotion thing.
I want to get your opinion on the era you were in. You were kind of in, Vince is trying to replace Hulk Hogan. Sean and Brett are coming up. Can you talk to me about that dynamic in the company at that point?
Well, how do you replace the Hulk Hogan, first of all?
Sure.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, at that time, Hulk Hogan was everything. Say your prayers, take your vitamins. I mean, he was in every living room. It was tremendous. That strong 80s, 90s push. But to be there when Hogan was there, that was one of my first opportunities. When I got signed, they put me in the building and said, we want you to listen to this. Hulk Hogan came out and hear that big pop was tremendous. I mean, I was actually there, not with Hogan being away. I was there with Hogan on the trips, making the European tours, doing the Monday Night Raws. Actually, he was the first guy when I actually got signed with him. That's who I hung out with, Hulk Hogan, in his room that night.
Oh, wow.
So it was really
As a young man, that must have been exciting.
I had some good friends here from Florida, the Nasty Boys.
Yeah.
You know about that? Yeah, they're really nasty. They get crazy. Anyone knows the Nasty Boys, they know, especially Brian Knobs. They're really good friends with Hogan, so I got to meet Hogan personally first night I got signed with them. I was in his room, having a great time, partying with him, and just he kind of welcomed me in. So it's great to have Hogan, top star in the World Wrestling Federation, to invite you in like that.
I got to back out on something that is just my nerd in me. You mentioned the Nasty Boys. You mentioned Brian Knobs. I want to ask about Jerry Sags. I've always been told Sags is one of the toughest guys out there.
Oh, Sags is very, very tough. Did you ever hear the story about him and Vince Torelli?
I have not.
Ken Shamrock? Real quick, because I don't want to take your time on here, but we started in the North Carolina area. We started a promotion called South Atlantic Pro Wrestling, North American Wrestling Association. Nasty Boys were there, and Vince Torelli was his name, but Ken Shamrock, the world's toughest man.
We've had him on our show many times.
Oh, yeah. Okay. A Hall of Famer. Well, they had a dispute one night, and, I mean, they really did tag up on Ken, but it was actually Jerry that beat Ken so bad, his face was swelled up. He had to go to the hospital. I mean, he was in the hospital for a long, long time, and that was because of Jerry Sags. Jerry's crazy. I mean, they're just like the Nasty Boys. He'll pick up, and he actually hit, what I understand, he actually hit Ken Shamrock with a phone. One of those old phones in the motel room. Boom!
Oh.
That's how the Nasty are. So they really do fight nasty, but they beat up Ken Shamrock. That's a big, big story that we always remember, and he still messes with him to this day. They play jokes for them all the time.
Well,
but it was pretty serious.
We can't top that. Tatanka, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
You're welcome, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
My
Tatanka.
pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Love Tatanka. As you heard at the beginning of the interview, we interviewed him last year at River City Wrestling Con. I've been holding on to it, waiting for Tatanka to pop back up in the news when he was on Saturday night's main event. When I heard his kids might be getting back into it, I'm like, now it's time to roll out the Tatanka. I wanted to wait for the right time. That's why I was so excited to show that to you. Tatanka, definitely a major player throughout 90s WWF, and we'll see what happens with his kids. Good luck to the Chavis children. We will be watching. But I got to talk to you about River City Wrestling Con, June 7th and 8th. Here at Going Ringside, we're proud media partners. I want to talk to you about some of the stars you're going to see out there at World Golf Village, which is just north of St. Augustine, Florida. Ric Flair, Bret Hart, Kurt Angle, Kane, Melina, Big Show, Thunder Rosa, Bobby Lashley, and the entire Hurt Syndicate. I'm going to have a little bit of an announcement at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that, specifically regarding what we know about Lashley and his partners, so to speak, on the 7th and 8th. But this is such a massive thing. So you have big fan conventions around the country. I know Conrad Thompson's heavily involved in the StarCast. They just did the big WrestleCon out in Las Vegas on WrestleMania weekend. I am of the impression our River City Wrestling Con here in Florida is the best in the country. I'm partial. Others will argue. I don't care. I'm excited to host a lot of the roundtables and bring them to you here on Going Ringside in months to come. But if you can be there in person, do not miss it. So I wanted to bring in a fan. We're going to have the organizer, Nick Batey, in coming weeks on the show to talk to you about all the details. So be watching in coming weeks. We're going to have Nick on. If you plan on going, everything you need to know. But I wanted to get a fan in here who's gone through it and maybe can give you some advice if you want to, how to meet, strategize which stars you're going to meet. Are you going to get your picture with Ric Flair? Are you going to get Bret Hart's autograph? Or are you going to go meet Melina? How do you strategize that? Because it's a big venue at World Golf Village. There's thousands and thousands of people there. So I wanted to bring in friend of the show, Desiree Joseph with the Chutes and Ladders podcast, to talk to us about what fans need to know. If you plan on going to meet the stars, here's Desiree with an inside look from a fan's perspective. So we're talking a lot about the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest fan convention in the country. I'm going to put it over your StarCasts and your WrestleCons in Vegas. I think Northeast Florida is best in the country. maybe because I'm affiliated, but, I'm a little partial. But I want to bring in a fan who attends these. You buy the tickets. You got the tickets this year. Desiree Jostin with the Chutes and Ladders podcast. Desiree, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I want your perspective as a fan who goes to this. Tell me everything. You go to wrestling more than anyone I know. You travel. I saw you in Canada a few months ago, I think with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
You are a huge mark. I don't feel bad saying that. You are a mark.
I will gladly admit it. I am one.
So talk to me about how you think River City Wrestling Con does as a fan convention.
I absolutely love it. It is one of my favorite weekends of the year. I take off of work just to make sure I can have time to recover, but it's an all-day thing. I have so much fun, and I literally just glow. As soon as I walk in, I'm having so much fun.
So I want to get to the stars in a bit, but talk to me about tips for people who maybe never gone before.
Yeah.
What are some keys to success to seeing your favorite stars? There's lines, there's autographs, it's all that type of stuff.
So what I like to do is, of course, Nick Batey puts out the lineup of who's going to be there. So I always pick like my top 5, top 10 of who I absolutely really need to see. And then when I get there, I just make my rounds and just check out the lines and wait until one dies down and just, hang out.
So last year, Sting, Trish, and Lita were the headliners. The Sting line was like Space Mountain at Disney World.
Ridiculous.
And I'm not mentioning Ric Flair, who will be at this one. Or Trish and Lita, huge lines. Do you want to wait in those lines? Do you want to go see other wrestlers, see if you can get a spot, like for the big people?
Depending on how much I absolutely need to meet them. A couple of years ago, Bret Hart came. I know he's coming back again.
Yep.
And I waited a good 5 or 6 hours in line for him. And I was
5 or 6 hours for Bret.
I did.
Really?
Because I did not buy the VIP package, so I didn't get to skip the line. I made the mistake. I was new. And in between, I would go and run and meet other people and then get back in line. Luckily, I had some really cool people that held my spot. But I was the very last person to meet Bret that day.
Oh, so you did get it?
Yes.
The wait was worth it?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go down the list. I'm going off the top of my head. I don't have the full list in front of us. You can check it out at River City Wrestling Con's website and social media pages. Let's start with the top Ric Flairs there. I think this is their first time getting Rick,
yes.
I believe. Yeah, so it's a big deal to get the Nature Boy.
Yep, and I met him a couple of years ago at a random signing here at the Avenues Mall.
Okay, really? Okay. So Rick is a big one. You think there will be a big line for Nick? He always says Space Mountain has the longest line.
I mean, he is. So, yeah, it's a no-brainer. If you love wrestling, you're going to meet Ric Flair.
Hurt Syndicate will be there.
Yeah.
We've got all them. I'm guessing there will be a lot of fans for them. But that's, what is it, 3 ways? I think they'll have all 3 there.
I think, I would hope so.
So you think they'll have a good line? Are you excited to see them at all?
Bobby Lashley, yeah.
Yeah. Kane will be there.
I have yet to meet him, and he is on my list.
So Kane's different animal. So he's a wrestler and a politician. So if you wrestling can have some, let's just say, colorful personalities.
Yeah.
If anyone's going to be on their best behavior at this, I would say it's going to be Kane.
I would hope so.
Yeah. He's got other fish to fry in his life.
He might get in trouble.
He might get in trouble. So he will be a very nice guy probably to talk
Good.
to.
I can ask him to choke slam me.
Big Show.
I have not met him, and I do want to meet him.
I interviewed him once virtually. I've never interviewed him in person. He was very nice to me. I brought my son in the shot, and he was nice to my son.
Awesome.
So Big Show will be exciting.
Great.
So let me think, who else do we have? Some of the old-timers. Sarge will be back. Sergeant Slaughter is always so great.
I love this man, and I had the best experience with him the first time I met him. Anytime I see him, I go every year up to him, and he is the nicest man. He'll tell you all these stories. He'll put you in the Cobra clutch.
Yep.
He's amazing.
There's a guy who brings a little controversy, is back. I just found out Bischoff is back.
Ah, yes.
Are you excited to see Bischoff again?
So excited. I met him last year.
Foley will be there. Foley 2 years in a row now.
Yes.
I'm really excited to see Mick. Mick, when I interviewed him last year, so I always wonder how they'll be. And they're usually what I see on... Mick was exactly like I thought he would be. He was this jovial, happy fan guy. He was just great.
And he's wearing his flannel shirt, very cool, and he had the longest line last year compared to, very equivalent to Sting. it was a long, consistent line all day.
One of the things that's weird to me is because Nick and his team, and I understand why they try and headline one or two, but all these people are so huge that you can't really headline one or two of them. They're all
insane.
Amazing. And Bret will be there, Bret Hart.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I think I'm doing one of the Q&As with Bret. You're welcome to be a part of that. We'll let you know. But excited to talk to Bret. How is Bret at these things? He does a lot of them now.
He's quiet. I tell you that.
And I think that's how Bret is. I mean, I assume he'd be a quiet.
He's a little bit more introverted compared to the other personalities in that room, but I can't help but gasp when I see him. So he was very nice, and it was worth the wait.
And I've talked about the men. There will be a lot of women, and they're not all legends. Mariah May will be there. We just found out about Mariah May.
I love her. I'm a big fan of hers.
So we had Mariah on the show. She was wonderful. She's kind of one of those ones, I honestly don't know her contract status. There's been a lot of speculation about that. But she's one. So when I had Mariah on, I kept saying to her, you're a huge star. She's like, I don't view myself as a huge star. I think for those people who've only done it for a year or two, I don't think it's quite stuck with them, their level of stardom.
Absolutely. I'm excited to meet her. She is so over.
So when they get there, autographs, pictures, I've only been, for interviews, I've only been turned down 2 or 3 guys. Most of them are very nice because you go to these and you don't, you've maybe never met a wrestler before, or maybe you met 1 or 2 and maybe you're a little intimidated because these are mega stars.
Yeah.
They're usually pretty generally nice to fans.
And I generally would hope so because they know what they're getting into. So it's just...
They know what the weekend will be?
Yeah, so I try to go in, not to be overbearing, but just say thank you for being here. I'm a big fan, and if there is time, I like to ask them a question or two about something that's always been on my mind as a fan, and it's great.
Of course, we will have the Q&A sessions. I'll be hosting, I think, all of them. We'll find out. We'll see it that weekend. But thank you, Desiree, one more time, where fans can find Chutes and Ladders podcast.
At YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram.
Desiree, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Desiree. And I mentioned earlier about the Hurt Syndicate. So first time all 4 are reunited. Cedric Alexander, we have just learned in our breaking here, will be with the Hurt Syndicate, along with, of course, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, all together at this River City Wrestling Con. I'm scheduled to sit down and talk to them. Could not be more excited. So if you were a fan of the Hurt Syndicate, the original Hurt Business, you do not want to miss this. It will be a big event, and we can come back here on camera because it is such a huge event. I think it's the best in the country. Just my opinion. I look at the rundowns of others. I think we're as good as anyone. The Nature Boy, Bret Hart, Kurt Angle, all the rest. So excitement. I will be there. I'll be getting interviews with all the wrestlers. So if you're there, stop and talk to me. We'd love to hear from the Ringside viewers, and I'm glad you were here joining us today. So thanks to Tatanka for joining us. Look for his kids on WWE maybe in coming weeks or months. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We'll see you back here next time.
This has been Going Ringside with the local station, brought to you every Wednesday on your favorite podcast player, on News 4 Jax Plus, as well as the News 4 Jax YouTube channel.